Legion remix and WoW horror game. Okay, I have actually somehow not seen this yet. I've heard about it, but I just somehow haven't seen this. Legion remix and WoW horror game. Remixing the past. Okay, so let's watch like this part. This is where they talk about Legion remix, and apparently they're doing some different stuff. So let's check it out.
What does WoW remix Mists of Pandaria mean for you?
Well, I mean, to the point that Maria was making about how the roadmap and having this consistent content cadence gives us great opportunities for adding a ton of new story content. Hey, it also gives us great opportunities for adding a ton of new interesting experiments, which we did all throughout Dragonflight. Everything from the revamped Secrets of Azeroth to the follower dungeons, those were all little experiments that we were doing. And at the end of Dragonflight, we knew we wanted to take a couple of big swings on the experimental side of things. One of them was experimenting with reusing WoW content. And this was really like, MOP Remix was really the combination of two different separate ideas that came together like a delicious cookie. One of them was, hey, can we expand upon time walking? At the time we were doing things like turbulent timeways for the first time and finding that to be something that people were really enjoying, and we've continued updating turbulent timeways ever since then. But then we were asking ourselves, what is the most effective way to relive, say, a whole zone? Should we do zone walking? Or a whole expansion if you went even bigger than that? Meanwhile, a bunch of our team members were playing our sister game, Diablo 3, and we're doing a bunch of the Diablo 3 seasonal content, and we're saying, hey, can we get something like this Diablo 3 seasons in WoW? Something where I feel like I'm going through similar content, but with wildly different gameplay and a wildly different leveling scheme, and I'm really enjoying leveling up my character in this newest season. So as both of those ideas continued being iterated on in big whiteboards, as you mentioned, eventually they just kind of merged together into this great thing that ended up being MOP Remix. Let's go back to Mists of Pandaria, and we actually went and looked at a bunch of data, and we saw that a bunch of people hadn't even done Pandaria that were currently playing WoW, so it was also a great opportunity just to get people back to a space that they had, not even back to a space, to get people for the first time to a space that they hadn't done yet, because maybe a bunch of them had leveled up in Dragonflight.
I mean, simply from the perspective of you have this entire world, 90+% of it is unused because, you know, people are in the current expansion doing the current content, the current dungeons, and the current raids, and the current tier stuff, which makes a lot of sense. But you have 90% of the world that's not being used at all. So to spend a bit of time pushing people to, hey, look, let's spend time in MOP, let's spend time in Legion, and go through this beautiful, you know, expansion that we spent millions upon dollars of making, but no one's really visited it in so many years. Let's just like go back on our on retail, not necessarily MOP Classic, which is also happening, lol, but MOP Remix. And, you know, it makes a lot of sense. I do have my problems with the, you know, that I've talked about in the past that a lot of people seem to disagree with. I do have my problems with Remix, but overall, it's pretty darn brilliant. I have to give them that.
But then also, could we reuse this content in a way that felt different while I was leveling through it? So, and that was the impetus behind all the different itemization, the infinite dragonflight, all the different layers on the content, the new ways to acquire the loot that you got from MOP Remix. You can see some of the interesting factoids up here. Some of our favorite leveling classes there were the Death Knight and Priest, and of course Hunter and Paladin, because everybody likes playing Hunter and Paladin. A bunch of people made it all the way to the very end and managed to kill a mythic Garrosh. We felt that MOP Remix was a really great experiment. It was a great opportunity to reuse the older game in WoW, but also give people a chance to do it fresh. And I feel like one of the key parts about freshening up a piece of content like this that we learned was that it's really the most fun when everybody gets to experience it together. And that's what a remix does. It's not just turning on everything all at the same time and saying, hey, go have fun. It's, hey, we're going to go through this together again. So it feels like it's a new expansion, and it feels like you're progressing with your friends again, and you're all learning about what the most overpowered item combinations are and finding these new secrets in the game about where did they put the special drops and stuff like that. It's a great learning experience for us, but also...
I mean, that's very, like, hyper true, right? When you have a fresh anything, it's very exciting, at least for those first few weeks. And we saw that in Remix for MOP, but you also see this in Classic WoW when there's new servers launched. You see it with a fresh TBC. We're going to see it with fresh MoP coming out. Like, you have this experience where everyone's leveling together. Like, it's just fun. Like, what else can you say? When you have all your friends online in any expansion, leveling together, farming the stuff, it's fun. Obviously, a couple weeks later, you're max level, you've done the raid, things get stale, whatever, that's normal. But yeah, like, it's fun when it's fresh. It's not fun when it's like, you know, people are like halfway in, like Season of Discovery right now, unfortunately. I mean, I love SOD. I love it, right? But right now, there's so many people at endgame, and people, I think, are intimidated to just hop in because they're so behind, right? If SOD dropped right now with everything it had, it would be like crazy hype for a while, like crazy hype. With retail, I think a lot of people feel that way when they don't come back to a new expansion, and it's just like, I don't want to come back and just be behind. It's like, but when there's a fresh new expansion, everyone's like, all right, fine, it's the perfect time to get in, right? And then so I think creating that fresh experience is like super key, and I think WoW is definitely trying to capitalize on that, right?
We got a huge amount of positive feedback from the community that they would love to see another remix at some point in the future.
Are we ready to talk publicly about some more remix?
This was going to be a fun panel regardless, but I think it will be an even more fun panel if we get to release a couple of juicy tidbits of information, maybe?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Hit us.
This is probably where he says it. I know he's about to say, but let's hear it.
So, as many of you have surmised, perhaps because we gave out a couple of hints, or very large hints, we are going to do another remix. And the next remix we are going to is, of course, the fan favorite expansion, Legion.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Confirmed. I mean, we already knew this, but now it's like, now we know.
Now, like we mentioned earlier, Legion has a lot of content. It has way more content than Mists of Pandaria, and it has a huge amount of different systems. So the team is currently hard at work delving deep into how we are going to integrate all of these systems in a remixed way. Which systems are we going to remix? Which systems are we going to remix and add new things to? Which of all of the different drops that came from all over the place in Legion are going to be accessible via currency? Team is delving into those right now, and we will have a significantly larger info dump later that includes a lot of the details about the systems, but we don't want to leave you without at least a couple of interesting, juicy tidbits about the stuff that we're exploring and we're excited about.
I'm very curious.
So here's two of them. First, Legion is where we first introduced the Mythic Keystone system.
Yeah.
And this gives us a great opportunity to expand upon the audiences that we hit with MOP Remix by giving the Mythic Plus audience something to do in a remix space. Hey, wouldn't it be cool if you could do Mythic Keystones with the wild item scaling of Remix and see how high you can go? We think that would be cool.
Yes.
And we're really excited about folks getting a chance to do that and just figure.
Mythic Plus confirmed in Legion Remix. Honestly, that's pretty exciting. I think like MoP Remix was super cool, but once you did the raids and you got like all the mounts that you wanted, it's like, okay, whatever. Something about this infinitely scalable type of content, like a Mythic Plus, like RBGs or arenas where you can continually push your rating higher and higher and higher, it gives players that want to do that something to infinitely push against, and it'll push back in a real way, and that's cool. So I'm excited for that. I don't know necessarily for me, but I think a lot of players will love it. You know, maybe I will try it. You know, like I think it would be really fun.
Figuring out how to completely break that game. We completely expect you're going to do that, and we hope you have a ton of fun.
Sounds really fun.
Right on.
But some of us in dad mode prefer the outdoor world. So one of the other things we're actually really excited about that we can do in a closed system, like a remix, is try wild experiments with the outdoor world. So we're excited to let y'all know we are taking yet another page from our friends over there on Diablo, and we're going to try adding a increased difficulty world tier in Legion Remix. It's currently called the Shattered Timeline. It's a timeline where everything went worse and everybody is significantly more difficult. So if you would like to challenge yourself while you are leveling up or at max level and doing Legion World Quests, head over to the Shattered Timeline and let us know what you think.
Right on.
Interesting. So a lot of feedback or criticism of retail is that the leveling experience is so easy and the world doesn't feel scary anymore like it did in Classic, like it did in TBC or Wrath. And they made the world just like any mob you run up to just dies instantly. You can never die. You could pull 50 mobs and they won't be able to kill you, right? Kinda. It'll be really interesting to see how the world feels like in this, what do you call it? Shattered world mode, where like, is every mob gonna feel like an elite mob or something? Like every mob's gonna feel dangerous. I'm curious.
Remix isn't the only experimental game mode that we've seen in recent years. There was also something called Plunderstorm. What was that?
So again, at the very end of Dragonflight, we wanted to take some really big experimental swings, and what could be a larger experiment than not only a game
Highest plunder earned by a single player. I think this was actually Peekaboo, maybe. I think this is actually maybe Peekaboo, bro.
mode in World of Warcraft that didn't use your World of Warcraft character and used a completely new action combat-like system, and you were a pirate, and you entered it through a whole separate screen. It had all of its own rewards, and also it was a battle royale. I don't think anybody was expecting the World of Warcraft team to come out with a battle royale at the end of Dragonflight.
No.
And despite the fact that it maybe did not have the largest Venn diagram overlap with what surveys have told us our players largely play outside of World of Warcraft, we saw a huge number of players jump in to play Plunderstorm. You can see some of the stats up here. The highest amount of plunder that was earned by a single player was 3.4 million. At least 4 people died to campfires. We have a lot of interesting statistics from Plunderstorm. And despite the fact that it was wildly different than WoW and completely outside the norm of World of Warcraft content, we saw tons and tons and tons of players jump in and play it, and we would consider it a huge success. And what that tells us is that there's a desire from the player base to do cool game modes in WoW, and that maybe we should start to think of another one.
Jeremy Fiesel. Can we confirm, maybe we can't get details right now, but can we confirm that we are working on the next fantastic experience?
We can, in fact, confirm that we are working on yet another game mode for World of Warcraft.
That's exciting, okay.
But we are going to provide even less details because we would like that to...
Dude, instantly, the vibe I get from this, instantly, is Anne Boney's game. It was a horror game set in Duskwood. You guys remember? In Darkshire, yeah. Anne Boney made a game. We played it all on stream. What was it called? What did Anne Boney call it? It was a WoW horror game. It was an Among Us WoW horror game, Anne Boney's game, yeah. Yeah, we played with Guzu and Savix. It looks just like this.
To be a reveal that includes probably a lot of cool videos that get across everything we're trying to do here. But to give you a couple of juicy tidbits on this one, it has a vibe that is a little bit on the scary story side of things.
Scary story side of things. Set in Darkshire or Duskwood, or what town is this called? Why am I not remembering? Is it Duskwood or Darkshire? Duskwood, right? Or is Duskwood's the zone? Oh, like my brain's not working currently. Darkshire is the town in Duskwood, so it's both. Okay, got it. Yeah, this is literally Amboni's game. Scarier side in Darkshire, bro. I hope Amboni gets a cut here, man. I hope Amboni gets a cut or some type of something for this.
And it is not a battle royale.
Okay. Okay. So we have 2 clues. Scary, not battle royale. Thank you. That's
all right.
Speculate away, and we would love to hear what you think.
Thank you. So in my experience with this WoW community, there has never been anything that was more beloved and more requested than housing. Housing feels like the culmination of a question this community has been asking since the beginning of WoW. Tell me, Jesse, how did the team get started on housing?
So housing has been worked on WoW for, I don't know, years and years and years and years. You can find old remnants of data mined houses and, really crufty stuff going way, way back.
Cruft.
Lots of cruft.
Great word.
But the more modern, attempt at housing started years before I got here. And a team had been prototyping and sort of pitching and building towards it. And they had a bunch of really compelling prototypes and things we were iterating on. I joined the team, started working on housing, started working on even more prototypes for housing because we were sort of very keen on dialing in a couple things. And so now we're here. We have a pretty big team working on housing. Everybody is super excited about it.
So a lot of you guys in the chat are already saying kind of what I was going to say. Let me just read the chat. Many people want housing, so no one, right? Question mark. Housing. Let's see. Housing seems awesome. I don't know. How can people hate on free content? Okay, so that was positive. More ways for the world to feel empty. Let's go. Y'all traumatized off garrisons, it won't be the same. Garrison question mark. I'm hyped for housing. So what I was gonna say was, it is very dangerous to put housing in WoW, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't. What I'm saying is, it's you walk a very fine line between killing your world and having players in cities and towns and the outworld, and having people go in their houses. And if there's too much utility in the house, utility being things like a bank, an auction house, a way to make gold, a way to queue for everything else, vendors, NPCs. If there's too much utility in the house and you don't give players a reason to leave, they won't. And we saw that happen with garrisons. With garrisons, there was a way to upgrade to have an auction house. I believe there was a mailbox. I believe you can make gold there. There was so much utility in the garrisons that people just didn't leave their garrisons, and that sucked. It made Warlords of Draenor one of the most hated expansions by a lot of people, and people also liked it in some ways too, but very dangerous idea, very dangerous concept, but it can also be awesome if they do it right. So in my opinion, the way you do it right is you make sure to not have too much utility in the housing. You can host parties for the role players on Goldshire, right? You can have and invite people over in a town, kind of like in New World, but if there's no utility in the house and it's really just for looks, right? You can decorate, you can have people over, you can, make it, you can personalize and make it your own, but there's no mailbox. If you want to get a mailbox, you got to go to that city, right? There's no auction house, right? There's none of this. Because if you can do all that, people won't leave. And if people don't leave, then the cities feel dead. And the cities feel dead, then the game is worse than it would have been if you just didn't add housing. So it's a very fine line, very, very critical line. If they can pull it off, let's go. It's going to be a tough one to do, but I think they can. They learned a lot from garrisons. I hope they can actually, get it done. I'm like cautiously optimistic about housing. Cautiously optimistic. Like, I want it to work. I know a ton of people want it, but if it kills the game, obviously it's not worth it. If it kills the outworld experience, if it kills the running into other players, authentic connection by running into someone on that same quest or whatever. If everyone's just in their housing and the cities feel dead, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. So we'll see if they can pull it off.
On the team, apparently folks are as well, and in the evolving of Azeroth, y'all have been playing for, in some cases, 20 years, but our character's been visiting Azeroth. We come, we stay in an inn, we log off, and then we're gone. Now you have a home. You have your own little slice of Azeroth that you can make your own. You can make a spooky house. You can make.
I'm just gonna pause because I see a lot of comments in the chat basically saying Azeroth is already dead. It's a logical fallacy to say that something is already ruined. Why not break it more? What's the fallacy there? There's like a name for this fallacy. That's not a line of reasoning that makes any sense. if something is already bad, it doesn't mean you should destroy it more. A slippery slope fallacy? Yeah, it's literally a logical fallacy to say, oh, well, the world's already dead, it doesn't matter. It's like that logic isn't logicking, right? Like that's not a good thing to think about, man. Like maybe I'm on copium here, maybe I'm too optimistic, but yes, I understand that the world is already kind of dead, but that doesn't mean you should break it more. In fact, maybe that should mean you should make it more alive. All right, maybe I'm the one on copium here, maybe I'm too optimistic, but I'm just saying, I don't buy this whole, oh, it's already dead, who cares? Like, let's just keep murdering it. No, thank you. No, thank you. All right, I don't buy that, chat, okay? I don't buy it.
Make a scary house. You can make a cozy house. You can invite your friends over. You can have, birthday parties. You can do all of these role-playing things that the community's been clamoring for in a space that's yours. But it's not just your space. You're in a larger context of a neighborhood. So it's me and you and you and you and you and you and you. And there are groups of friends, there are communities, there are guilds who are inhabiting a shared space. And they will be able to inhabit that space for years to come. Your progression, on a tier right now is 6 months, something like that. Your progression in housing is forever if you want it to be. So it's super exciting when you think about the world, how we interact with it now and how we will interact with it in the near future.
I think one of the coolest things they could do with housing, one of the biggest concepts and ideas, and maybe I'm alone here, and I would love to hear your guys' feedback. When I first heard of the concept of NFTs and putting a piece of NFT art in your VR world, I thought that was a little crazy. But then I thought, wait a minute, in World of Warcraft, you get mounts and achievements from doing unique things. You see where I'm going with this? If you have a virtual home in World of Warcraft, once again, not a ton of utility because you want the cities to feel alive, but if you can put up achievements for someone who farmed out 20,000 achievement points, they could put a 20,000 achievement point banner over their mantle in their fireplace in their home. Now we're cooking. That is something that you can have friends over. There's meaning. People understand it because they were going for it too. There's a level of connection there. Say you're a gladiator and you can put your gladiator tabard from that season on the wall. And if you're a multi-gladiator, you can line them up. Boom, there we go. Now that is cooking. To me, something like that is creating something that's meaningful in your house that 10 years down the line, it's still going to have some type of meaning in the world. That's the stuff they should be working on, right? I'm trying to think of more stuff. A unique carpet liner in, down the hallway for getting, Mythic Plus or ahead of the curve. I'm just spitballing here, just like random cosmetic ideas in the home that are a visual representation of the accolades and achievements that you've collected in World of Warcraft over time. And you launch these alongside of achievement points in tandem with them to decorate your house in a unique and meaningful way based on the rewards that you've done in the game. There we go. That is the kind of housing that I think would be successful in WoW, right? Definitely, absolutely. Trophies, statues, Annie's house to be decked out, and it deserves to be, right? Annie has farmed more achievements than like almost everyone in the game. So Annie's house should look cooler than almost everyone's in the game, right? Trophy room, stuff like that. Absolutely. Yes. That would be the concept, man. That would be the concept.
How does having a persistent space that players can call their home, how does it affect the way we build content?
Of course it does, absolutely. One of the most exciting things, in a designer sort of way, as opposed to a player sort of way maybe, but maybe not, is the potential to have quests give you rewards of things you can do for your house, things you can decorate your house with, things that are mementos of some achievement that you managed to pull off, some awesome thing you did. We talk a little bit about that Onyxia head and where we're going to put it, exactly. It also gives us an opportunity to look at what might happen if we brought content to you. So, we are thinking a lot about opportunities here. Right now, the giddy designers, though, are very excited about decor because they have all sorts of ideas of cool things that could go into your house and be an awesome reward, and get you guys out there exploring the world.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but
Cool.
One of the first conversations we had, this was in the housing prototype V19 or something. We were talking about how to build content, and you gave me the example that I used to pitch repeatedly for all the exec meetings, which was, so right now if you go in WoW and you find a village and there's a merchant and he's like, oh no, my cattle have run off or something like that. You save their cattle, you come back and you say, goodbye, merchant. In housing, we now have the opportunity for that merchant to come by your house, and you say thank you for your things, and he goes on his way, and he comes back every day or every week, and then at some point he stops coming by. And you're like, I wonder what happened to the merchant.
Death.
Yeah. He's on the death list.
Yeah, he's on the whiteboard.
Goodness
She
gracious.
killed Blanchie.
I know, right? You know that. The merchant was just down the street, and his cattle...
Okay.
The merchant's not dead. He's just down the street. And you say, oh, hey, merchant, I can help you now. And you bring back his cattle or whatever, and he starts his trek again. And that feels so much more alive. It feels so much more personal than just like, oh, later, POI, I'm glad we've had that conversation. And yeah, to the point with the designers, we had to have a brand new process for how other designers request decor. Because they've all been clamoring, hey, I'm doing a quest in this place. Can I get a whatever prop? And it's been a deluge, and so we're like, okay, we need a process for this now because there's a lot. And so yeah, we've been reinventing a lot of wheels right now for better.
Something else there's been a lot of is...
One of the things that I did an Oblivion playthrough recently, and one of the things I really liked about Oblivion, playing through it again as an adult, was every NPC in the game has a routine. They have a daily routine and a weekly routine. And they go to different areas on the map each week. They sleep at certain times each day. You can find them in different taverns, drinking or eating every single day. So every character in the game has these routines and cycles. So to find a character, if it's midnight, they're probably going to be in their bed sleeping. They're not just going to be in that same spot. And that makes the world feel alive, right? And then if it's 8 a.m., they might be like down in the tavern eating. And then if it's noon, they might be at work out in the town at their job. And then at like 8 p.m., they might make their way back to their home. That is, dude, I could go on and on about Oblivion. Oblivion's an absolute masterclass of an RPG, and we talked about that earlier. But something like that does really help the world feel alive. And not just one character, everybody. Everybody is doing that same thing. Every single character in the game is interacting. And not only that, one of the things that makes Oblivion so good is that the characters interact with each other. And then not only that, they interact with each other and talk about the things that you've been doing in the game. Say you shut an Oblivion gate outside of one of the towns, they'll say like, the two NPCs will be talking, and you'll be running by. You won't even be interacting with them. So you won't even talk to them. The two NPCs will talk and be like, did you hear that gate, outside of so-and-so town was just closed by some outsider? And so they'll be talking about you, essentially, and the things that you just did in the game without you even interacting with them. Anyway, Oblivion is a masterpiece of an RPG. I think bringing in elements of that to make the world feel alive in WoW is probably an intelligent direction, right?
A desire to talk to the community as we're building out housing. And I just want to compliment you personally, you and the team. The housing team has been very open about wanting to share with the community what we're doing and what we might be able to do so that we can make sure that that community is heard and that they're receiving, so to speak, what they want out of housing. Tell me a little, just anything you can tell me.
2-minute version.
Okay, Midnight, The Last Titan, Beyond. Tell me something about what's coming for housing.
A lot of things are coming for housing.
Sure.
The first release that we have is just that. It's the first release for housing.
Yes.
We are going to be building on housing for the foreseeable future. We have a very, very bulky roadmap full of stuff. The community response to it has been amazing in that, like, we'll make a post and then we'll see this big discussion come up and we'll be like plucking, like, we should think about adding that. That seems like a good idea. Put it on the roadmap. The team has, channels devoted to brainstorming and coming up with new stuff. There has been no shortage of amazing ideas that are all just, fighting each other to get on. So yeah, got a lot coming. You'll hear more over the next couple of weeks. I think we'll be talking about some other things that people want to hear about very soon too.
Regarding housing, there's a development anecdote I want to share with y'all, which is right now when you go to an innkeeper, you can bind your Hearthstone to there, and then that makes it so that you can return there whenever you want.
Oh, can you hearth your house?
Right now, if you go to an innkeeper in the game right now, any innkeeper in the world, it will say, make this in my home. And we had to change that in Midnight because that's not true anymore. Because you'll have a home. Now it just says, bind my Hearthstone to this inn. I think that's kind of special.
It's lovely.
It is.
I thought that was special. Yeah,
Thank
that's
you,
cool.
Paul.
That's really cool.
That's nice.
The crowd just didn't give him any feedback there, but I thought that was cool. Thanks for sharing, whoever that was. Let's go.
And I want to thank all of you, and I want to thank all of you for coming, and everyone watching online. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed your insights.
Thank you.
From the entire World of Warcraft development team, we cannot wait to see you in Azeroth and welcome you home.
Here we go.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, that was a good watch. Player housing, Legion remix, and a scary game mode in Darkshire. Whatever that means or will be. Bro, Blizzard's cooking. I'm excited for all of these things. I'm cautiously optimistic about the housing, but I think they can pull it off. I hope they can pull it off. And with the Darkshire game mode, I'm always excited to have more game modes built in WoW. One of the reasons why is because WoW's engine is so good. Like, the movement is so fluid. Like, leveraging the incredible engine that WoW has and branching it into other genres of games is awesome. And then Legion Remix, M+ in a remix mode, I think is pretty darn cool to give it more longevity, and people really seem to like remix in general. So there we go, man. Good. Good. Nice. Thanks for linking that one, Boomy. There we go, man.